Once I started writing this record, the pressure went away, and it was just about finding the best songs and writing the best songs, and I hope to always make music that matters and tell a story and evolve my sound and sound good years from now, but I have to focus on like what I'm going through currently and not focus on what the trend is at the moment. Yeah, Girl is the first single from the record, and obviously I titled the album after it, and it's just a song about that kind of self-criticism that we all have to deal with and learn from. And I think just it's about kind of relinquishing control over your day-to-day emotions and just accepting the fact that you're human and we all have to go through it. And it ends on a really like optimistic, positive note, which I love. And I think that's why I wanted it to be the first single, is because it was really where my head was at the time. And it's just about like self-acceptance in the end. The Feels is really just about being drunk with my boyfriend, now husband, and wanting to like leave whatever bar we ended up at because we don't want to be around anyone else. We just want to see each other. So it's just like a fun, feel-good song. All My Favorite People is really just kind of me getting back to my Texas honky-tonk roots I used to play in, and I knew that I wanted my friend's Brothers Osborne on it because we were friends before either of us had anything going on success-wise, and so I love that like we can just be friends when we hang out and not really even talk about music, but this whole song is just about like, even if it's a Tuesday night, like let's go out and like we used to our karaoke bar days, and it's just like a really fun party song. A Song for Everything is inspired by the bands that I was obsessed with in high school, and those songs that you used to make on mix CDs for your friends for like a road trip or like just a good playlist. And so it just talks about the songs in your life that really were the soundtrack for those nostalgia moments and really snap you back to those memories. And so I name drop like Coldplay and Springsteen and Teenage Dream, Katy Perry, like all those songs were cornerstones of my upbringing in my teenage years. So it's just a song about songs. Yeah, Common was one of the first songs I wrote for, I guess one of the first songs I wrote with Sarah Aarons and Greg Kurstin. And I met Sarah through The Middle because she wrote that with Zed. And it was, I don't know, it's just kind of a tumultuous time always that we live in when you really peer into like politics or just universal things. And so I think I wanted to write a song about, you know, a medicinal quality to all of that chaos. And at the end of the day, no matter what you believe in or what walk of life you're coming from, we're all breathing the same air, and we all have, you know, blood in our veins, and we all are just wanting to be happy and find happiness. And so I think that it's hard to remember that sometimes because there's just so much negativity, but Common is really sort of this call to action. And Brandi Carlile is one of my favorite artists and favorite voices, I think, in the world. And she has so much soul and so much grit, and she has gone through her own traumas. And so I loved that she brought that element to the song. Flavor was written as sort of like a middle finger to the critics and haters and trolls. So there's a line in the bridge that I love, and especially live. It's fun to sing, but it's like so many singers, if they get political or even social, get accused to like shut up and sing. And so I put in the song, shut up and sing, hell no I won't. And it's just sort of my clap back to the trolls. Make Out With Me is pretty self-explanatory. I wrote it as almost like a drunk dial voicemail that I would leave my boyfriend. And he's an artist as well, so we travel a ton and we constantly miss each other. And so Make Out With Me is just like the second your flight lands, come home. I already got the Postmates, got the Netflix. Yeah, it's just like a fun make-out song. Gold Love was one of the first songs I wrote for the record, and it was a 2-day co-write, and I wrote it about well, at the time we were just dating, but my husband. And it was just about like the fact that he loves me no matter what, and he's got like, he's kind of my brand of weird. And so I think that's why we love each other so much. And it's not an easy thing to be in this industry and have a relationship. So when you have someone that gets it, it's a really rare find. Great Ones I actually wrote with my husband, and we wrote it the week that we got engaged. And it was just, we were thinking about those really iconic love stories like Romeo and Juliet, and it felt really Shakespearean, but it's just like, you know, there's so many relationships that fall apart under pressure and under criticism, and when you live in a bubble like the music industry, it's even more of like a hot plate. So I feel like Great Ones was our kind of call to say like, we're gonna make it through this no matter what, and he has my back and vice versa. So it's a really like beautiful love song that I got to write with him. RSVP was inspired by the songs I grew up listening to in the 90s. Like, I love that the lyrics to RSVP are really country driven, but then the production is pretty like 90s R&B to me, and it's one of my favorite songs to sing live in the show because it's just really sexy, and it's like me being the aggressor. And I love that because so many songs are about a girl wanting a guy to notice her, and I loved that this flipped that on its head, and it was like, no, I'm chasing you down. And it's just like a really, I guess, sexually empowering song from a woman's perspective. I wrote To Hell and Back about a week after my first record came out, so it was almost gonna make it on the first record, but just missed the cutoff. And To Hell and Back was sort of my song to, well, at the time we had just started dating, but Ryan and I were really falling in love, and I wrote this song out of gratitude to him because I was in a previous relationship where they didn't really understand why I loved this so much, and they were always sort of trying to make me feel like guilty about having success and being excited about things that were going well. And it's only because they were insecure, and it wasn't really about me. And so To Hell and Back was my love letter to Ryan, saying like, thank you for accepting me as I am and not trying to save me or patch me back together, because I don't need that. But I like that he loves my sort of weird, crazy. The Bones was sort of born out of a conversation with my co-writers who have like marriages and children, and I got married last year. I don't really have any kids yet, but it was about those really foundational aspects of a relationship where, you know, you go through some really heavy stuff, and you know that it's not the last time you're gonna have to go through something heavy with your partner, but those roots are so deep that you've like really put down, and you've built that foundation up so strong that even when the windows break and the rest of it is ripped down to the studs, the soul of your relationship is intact. And I think that that's how I feel about my relationship with my husband, that, you know, we've gone through some stuff and it won't be the last thing we go through, but we know that we're gonna be still standing after the storm. Good Woman is another love letter, but it's probably the most vulnerable song on the record, and it's really hard for me to get like, it's hard to strike the balance between love song and not getting too sappy. And I think the way that you avoid that is just by being honest and saying it like you would in a conversation. And so I love that that entire song is very unabashedly direct. And I even like get blushy when I play the song for Ryan because it's just so obviously about him. And it's just me kind of not being this young girl anymore and being like, wow, I actually do need somebody. It's not like anti-feminist or anti-independent if you accept that you actually do need people sometimes, and I do need him. So this is my song saying like, you're my ride or die. I loved ending the record with Shade because it's just such a instrumentally interesting song. It goes into like emotional, and then Sgt. Pepper's Beatles land by the end. Like, there's so much instrumentation going down, and I love it because it's kind of how a relationship is. It's like starts very vulnerable and then it goes like super intense and you can't stop it. It's like a wheel going down a road, and it's just going faster and faster. And so Shade is like a love song, but it also ends on such a high note that I wanted the listener to listen to the record, and by the end of Shade, they're like, holy crap, I need to start this whole album again because that was such a journey. And so I love ending on that note.